Ready, steady, go. Anyway, John Malone, so today we're going to talk about social isolation and how it literally shrinks the brain. The spiritual and scientific cost of loneliness is what we're talking about today. Okay. For anybody who wants to, we will be talking about it in brief, but there is more stuff in the description of the video. People can also look at and make comments and tell us what they think, if they have any insight into this. Anyway, so here we go. So, in today's reflection, we explore a profound new study that reveals something both astonishing and deeply human. Social isolation can actually cause parts of the brain to shrink. Published in Neurology on July the 12th, 2023, researchers from Japan studied nearly 9,000 older adults and discovered that those who were socially isolated had smaller brain volumes, especially in areas tied to memory, emotion, and connection. So there we go, John Long. We'll also be talking about how wholly brains are different also. So what's your thoughts on this, maybe the social isolation aspect of it and people not meeting people and
Yeah,
yeah.
certainly. Yeah, well, I will. And the first thing to start to say is that um, the business of titling social isolation, that's a funny concept in some ways. People live on their own, oftentimes when family leave homes and all the rest of it. And but you can be on your own, y- but you're not lonely. And part of the solution there is that first of all you go to practice your faith. If you're a Catholic, you're going to mass every Sunday or the vigil mass on Saturday. And I went on Sunday today in Kells, and St. Colm Kills Church, and it was very nice and lovely hymns. Now, so the business of being on your own is it can be used for positive effects. First of all, you're saying your prayers. I mean, when in the morning, I say my morning prayers, and generally speaking, when I if I wake, say at about 4 o'clock or something in the morning, and I have to go to the bathroom, um, I often say my morning prayers then, because I'm not I'm alert, and but it's morning in that sense. So I say my morning prayers, which usually last about 10 minutes, and I've the light on and so on and so forth. Now, so like this is what nourishes the soul is by way of saying your prayers. And in my case, I say the Holy Rosary every day in the morning. I do the Stations of the Cross with my little book like this, and
Hmm.
people can get books of this caliber, maybe not like this particular one, but they can get with the Stations of the Cross in plenty of religious stores, which are all over the world, and not just in churches that are all over the place. And you can get a book like that. So it saves you going to the church, and it's often a good thing to say it and meditate on it, and you can shed a tear, which you can't very well do that in the church. So things like that, because when you're meditating on it, these are the good things, and the Holy Road, the Chapel of Mercy, and the Station of the Cross, and then in my case, videos. So one is active, but aside from videos, if I was doing just what I'm doing, without any videos, that's a good thing. And then you go out and about because you have a car, so you're not kind of stuck. But supposing you didn't have a car, well, you can go out and about unless you're living in a very isolated area. Now, you mentioned Japan did a study on it, but in Japan, would have a very high population in a relatively urban type of environment, and there's a lot of people. But there would be even isolation, even if you were younger, because from your work, you go home. It doesn't have the culture that we have in the marvelous saints and scholars that we have in Ireland. We're unique in that respect, that we have this great respect for what's good and helping your neighbour. If if an opportunity occurs that you can do that. And I've often done that because it has occurred. And your neighbour can be not just next door or that, it can be somewhere else that you're trying to do a bit of good.
That's it. I think,
And
look, the
I
government
suppose
has done some work in this area in terms of men's sheds to stop maybe men feeling isolated, and these are
you hit
very,
the
very
nail in
positive
the head.
developments, that you see these things. So I suppose really what we're talking about here, the loneliness and the shrinking of the brain, which is linked to memory loss and dementia also, okay, it says in this study. Um, that people should maybe get a sense of community and try, if they are feeling isolated and lonely, become more active in the group, maybe join a local gardening club or a men's shed or something like that.
But
But in reference,
the men's shed is the best. And I think now there's women's sheds as well.
yeah,
So they can take part in that by way of maybe a little business where they're knitting something or doing
absolutely,
something
yeah,
that
yeah,
ladies do, and that the talent that they have in that area. The men's sheds can do various other odds and ends and help those that need a bit of help in the areas where maybe they need a door fixed or something like that. You know the way things can
absolutely,
happen, and people living in isolated areas where there isn't a passing trade, a passing people, and all the rest of it. That you're meeting people anyway. I'm certainly meeting people, but in other parts, in the city, for example, like you have people living beside you, but you mightn't even be friendly with them or even talking with them.
absolutely, yeah,
They don't communicate a need for that. So there is that factor, but you have brothers and sisters. That's one example. They're in touch with you. If your father and mother are still alive, they're in touch and all that kind of thing. But eventually, you can be actually on your own and depending on the way you live and all the rest of it, and the way your prayer life goes, then it's good. You're uplifted. You don't suffer from any of that type of thing. As a matter of you have joy and peace in your heart because you can do
absolutely.
your own thing.
And I think,
If
I
you
think,
have
I, th
somebody with you, you have to accommodate them.
I think we must also remember, John, the people from the Irish diaspora that immigrated, okay, the loneliness they feel when they go abroad. We covered a video there where we were talking about sometimes people leave their own family because they feel invisible. They go across the other side of the world and they feel they suddenly become visible to their family, they're missed. But there is that isolation with them. But there's also the isolation of people coming into Ireland, coming here to work, trying to have a better life, and they feel isolated too. You mentioned there about that your meditations, your Chaplet of Mercy, your Stations of the
Yeah,
Cross, and all
yeah.
that. Okay, and one thing we were talking about earlier on was that there's differences in brains in the holy brain. Okay, so the brain structure in long-term meditators, monks, and nuns often show thicker gray matter in areas linked to attention, empathy, and emotional control. You know, so the brain
Yeah.
develops different. These people weren't born with a different brain, but because they're holy people, their brains become different through years of focused spiritual discipline, producing calmer, more compassionate, and more integrated neural patterns. There's some very good researchers, Andrew Newberg, Richard Davidson, Mario Beauregard, and Sarah Lazar. And these are in the description of the video, and there will be a whole lot of information on the description of the video, and people can comment on the video also.
Well, you see, the thing is that when people are in communities like that, amongst to have the companionship of people of the same, and they're all different.
Hmm.
They're all unique human beings, but have this in common, and it's the question of prayer.
Hmm.
That's the thing that is gels them together, and the meditation and all the rest of it, and then the church, and and the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. So these are the things that and the community. But they have a fairly tough regimen and have then time for a bit of social thing as well to interacting. And then they, depending on what talents they have, to do a bit of gardening, cooking, all the rest of it, and whatever they can devote time to that. So it's prayer and work. And that's the very thing that keeps an ordinary person focused as well, prayer and work, depending on their age. But when you're retired, well, then it's a different kettle of fish. And oftentimes, when you're retired, it takes a while just to get used to it and to be able to develop the pattern that you develop. and then when you find yourself on your own, to cater for that as well, because that can give a period of kind of missing the person and all that, you know. So you adjust, and the main thing that helps that is prayer and meditation. That's the one
Absolutely.
sure cue.
I,
Japan, for example, where there was a study that you mentioned, that's a culture that's completely different. Their background is not like what we have here. We come from the island of saints and scholars. We had we had great education and religious people. Don't forget, even in off the coast of Kerry and Skelly Rock, there was monks. Now, when you look at that, you just wonder how they were able to survive in those little huts that's there. So, like, this is the great gift that we have here in this country. And don't forget, we sent missionaries abroad, and the Irish people that went abroad often stuck together and they rose up as well. They come with little or nothing. But when they went to the United States, the land of the free, they prospered. Some maybe didn't, but a lot of them did prosper, and have made a good contribution to that country in religion. Don't forget, in New York, the St. Patrick's Cathedral was built with the savings and the monies of Irish people. That marvelous St. Patrick's Cathedral, and we have Cardinal Timothy Dolan there now, and there was always Irish cardinals. Cardinal O'Connor was a great cardinal as well. He did so much good work, and Cardinal Dolan, Timothy Dolan does as well, and he has a jolly exposition or expression, and he's brought plane loads to visit Knock. So he's a great supporter of this country, and believe it or not, Cardinal George Pell from Australia, he was also in Knock one time. I have a friend that had a shop there for a period, and Father Cardinal Pell, when he was Archbishop of Melbourne, I think, was visiting Knock, and the secretary was in the shop, and this gentleman that I know asked him, would he get Archbishop George Pell to visit and take a photograph, and he did. And there's a photograph of the man that I know and Cardinal George Pell, as then he became, and all the rest. Well, we know a lot about him. He's dead now, Lord of mercy, but he was a very talented and a great Archbishop of Melbourne. But the forces of evil tried to destroy him, and they jailed him, and but lost out. It's so important in some ways to focus on what's good, no matter what your situation is.
I think
You would be uplifted.
I think John Malone, you hit on something there when you were talking about the value of the church. I suppose, look, if people are feeling lonely and isolated, the best place for them really is the church, to go into a church, I suppose, and then start there. Start in the house of God, meet people. As we said already, meditation is very good for the mind. Okay, this reflection on
It
the
is.
Stations of the Cross
Couldn't
and
be
all that,
couldn't be better.
and
Yeah,
then work from there.
exactly. And people on their own can go to mass during the week where they're going to be meeting people, because they mightn't have the mental ability in some ways that some of us are blessed with, thank God. And we thank God for the gifts that He has given us and
Hmm.
the ability to communicate, because that's what I was always doing in my work and all the rest of it. So, down the years. So, you use your gifts, and the people that feel lonely and that, when they go to mass every day, then they're meeting people, and they do get some bit of relief, and they're saying prayers.
That's
But
it.
that's a
That's it.
good way to start.
Absolutely. There was a lady there, she made a comment. I'm not sure if you've seen it. She says she loves your statues, and she loves the way you sing to the statues every day. So there you go.
Correct. Well, I do, and even when I'm doing my hymns, and sometimes I say I'm trying to be like John McCormack, but probably a 31st cousin, that sort of way.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think, yeah, you don't hide what it is. And it's not that you're adored. They're a reminder of who you're praying, who you're singing to. That's what it is. Unfortunately, people in the Protestant profession have such a crazy idea because they've no statues. One wonders what keeps them going in some ways. You
Yes.
have to have some replicas, and their windows don't have the stained glass windows that we have in our churches. The lovely depiction of our Savior Jesus and all the saints and our Blessed Mother, and then in the local church here in Oldcastle we have Saint Oliver Plunkett in a picture or in the altar, and also Saint Bridget, and
That's
the
it.
church is named after Saint Bridget. So these are reminders, and it's not that you're restoring statues; it's reminders. That's a very straightforward, simple thing. I think even an idiot would understand that, but for some reason or other, the prods don't, from what I understand. So they're suffering from some kind of mental blockage, and they're not unlocking the whatever it is that you need to unlock to appreciate the nature of what the Catholic Church is and what we do.
John Malone, this has been a very, very insightful video on one of our best, I would say. And I would thank you very much for it. And of course you'll mention there that people must put a comment in the video. Can you please
Well, I
tell the
think so. I
folks?
mentioned
Yes.
that too, because we like to hear from what they
Yes.
have to say and what their experiences are, because we're all made in the image and likeness of God. We're all different. We've all different talents, and everybody has a talent of one kind or another. And if they're able to use the comments and follow it, it might say sign in. It means you go to your email and then it's all right, and you did make your comment. So these are the sort of things that we like people to try and do if they possibly can. They're often so busy at whatever they're at, they don't seem to have time to,
To
I
bless
won't say even
themselves.
bless themselves, but
Uh,
let's hope they make the comments.
let's hope they do and that they find time for each other. And of course, they can read the entire description of this video, which has a lot more information if they want to follow up on it. John Malone, thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you very much. I suppose you might give that hymn that you composed on the
Yes,
on
well,
what you're
I can tell you there's a lot of people that like that hymn, John Malone. It's called Join John in Prayer Every Day, and it's called Yes, He Does. It's now at 17 views, and it's about John
yeah.
Malone's prayers and what he does, and it's a great song, if I do say so myself. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, it's a good hymn, and perhaps it might get to number one in the business of what we're at. So, bye now,
Thank,
Oliver. Thanks very much.
thanks, John. Bye bye now.